While we, along with the rest of the world, work together to get through COVID-19, it's important to remember to help flatten the curve. Although our state has gone from a red to an orange moderate risk category, know this is a trial period. The best way to continue to fight this pandemic is to stay safe, stay home whenever possible, and stay healthy. We know getting out is important too. On this week's episode of Capital City News, we hear from Jonathan Larson, the city's transportation director, about how to get out and stay active and healthy during COVID-19. And our History Minute is about how the 1918 flu pandemic started right here in Utah. Let's get started with our legislative update and look back.
At its April 21st meeting, the City Council began its annual budget process for the 2021 fiscal year. Received an update from Mayor Mendenhall about the city's COVID-19 response. Unanimously approved by straw poll, Mayor Mendenhall's funding recommendations for the one-year action plan for community development block grants and other federal grants for fiscal year 2021, and received various briefings and approved various appointments. To learn more, visit slc.gov/council.
Trees help us with our air quality, they help with walkability, property values, they help to decrease the heating and cooling costs of homes and buildings. The impacts of trees are positive and they are many. And there's a great saying that the best time to plant a tree was 25 years ago, the next best time is today. So on Arbor Day, we're grateful that we're planting 25 trees here at this park and hundreds of trees across the city. I'm grateful for Salt Lake City's urban forestry team, who has been planting hundreds of trees already, and they're here to help us plant a few more today. We hit a 100-day mark for my administration just last week, and a lot of things have changed. But I'm grateful that in this course of time, the momentum and the financial support to plant the trees is still here. By the end of this year, we will have planted at least 1,000 trees on our city's west side, and we're going to do it every single year. The 1,000 trees that we'll be planting on Salt Lake City's west side have all been supported through private donations, and we're grateful to all of those groups and individuals who have contributed to make this a reality. Ivory Homes and the Ivory Foundation with Clark Ivory have contributed an incredible amount, and they are partnering with us to make sure that people can also get trees onto their private property. So the city is, of course, planting in the parks and the park strips and the public right-of-ways, but beginning today and through May 9th, families can apply for a free tree voucher. And in the mail, they'll be able to receive those around the week of May 11th. And Salt Lake City and the Ivory team will be evaluating those applications and prioritizing people and families who apply from Salt Lake City's west side. Ivory Foundation will be donating 200 free trees to Salt Lake City families, and we're grateful for that.
If you choose to recreate in city parks with your furry friends, it's important to observe the rules. Keep your dogs on a leash unless you're in a specifically designated off-leash area. Keep them out of vital watershed areas. And please, do your part to pick up after them.
During this challenging time, it's important to remember our physical and our emotional health. Getting out and staying active can help. But how do we do this and do it safely during COVID-19? John Larson, director of the city's transportation division, has details.
I think we're all sensitive to what a challenging time this is right now. And, we're all trying to do the right thing, stay home as much as possible. But also, I think it's important to take care of our physical and mental health. And a lot of times that's, exercise is a great way to do that. And so that means getting outside, walking, walk the dog, go for a bike ride. The weather is really gorgeous right now. And so we've been kind of keeping track of what, that feedback from residents, and then also looking at what cities around the world have been doing and noticing that in order to help deal with some of the crowding in parks and on sidewalks, other cities have been having some success with opening up streets for walking or biking. And so we decided to look into it. The feedback has been mostly very positive. And so we were excited to do the first street yesterday out on 500 North, and we're excited to roll out streets in the next week or two.
So when you open up those streets for pedestrians and for bicycles, what does that look like physically on the street? Can traffic still get through? Do people are people able to get by? How does that work?
So it's we've designated these streets as local traffic only. So that includes if you live on the street, or if you have deliveries that need to be made, mail truck, things like that, or even like the street sweepers or garbage trucks can still get through. But it's just discouraging through traffic, and then encouraging those who are still driving on the street to really slow down.
Can you explain the process of what streets, why you chose the streets you did to open in the first place, and what streets we can expect in the future, and how you came to those decisions?
Internally, as a team, had staff take a look at things like trying to avoid streets that would maybe be routes for ambulances, generally trying to avoid bus routes, things like that, and then also looking for opportunities to connect to parks and trails and things like that. So, and then also just looking for considerations to help spread around the city. So other streets that we're looking at would include like Emory down in Poplar Grove, or based on the survey that we sent out, 6th East, 8th East were really popular. So we'll be opening up sections of those, Stratford Avenue, among a few others.
Could you tell me just what you think the benefit of doing this across the city is going to be for residents?
I think it's important to get out and be physically active right now, both for physical but also for mental health. Get a little vitamin D, but be able to do so in a way that's safe. A lot of our sidewalks, unfortunately, aren't even 6 feet wide, and yet we're expected to stay 6 away from each other. And so I think that has created a situation where it kind of puts people in a dilemma of, like when you're walking down the sidewalk and someone's coming the other direction, one of you is going to have to jump out into the street or the park strip. So we're trying to help limit that a little bit.
Can you tell me where people would go to find more information about which streets are opening up like this, and where they can get more information or offer you feedback for anything else that has to do with your department?
We have set up a web page on the transportation, like a subpage on the transportation web page, specifically for this topic. We have FAQs there, a description of why we're doing this, and then also we'll be posting updates there, including hopefully soon, very soon, a map showing all the different streets that we're doing this on.
Well, this sounds great. Thank you so much for talking to me about this.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate your time.
And now it's time for our History Minute.
In 1918, the H1N1 virus, a strain of influenza with avian origins, spread across the world, causing death everywhere it touched. Through the early parts of fall, it seemed as though Salt Lake City would remain safe from the spread of infection. On September 27th, the public was told by Salt Lake Health Commissioner Dr. Samuel G. Paul that the flu was highly contagious by way of particles caused by coughing or sneezing, but would be preventable enough in the area since there were no known cases. That all ended on October 4th, 1918. A small handful of cases in Salt Lake City were found, spread by an infected family from Wyoming who'd come to Utah in order to attend the state fair. Later that day, a dozen more cases were found in Colville, and state officials canceled school and public gatherings in that town. At the time, Salt Lake City felt their strategy of isolating the patients was enough to curb the spread, but they were wrong. By the next week, there were several more dozen cases in Salt Lake City as well as numerous deaths. On October 9th, the state health department ordered the closure of all churches and Sunday schools, public schools and universities, theaters, movie houses, public meetings, pool halls, dance halls, and private dances. All public gatherings of any kind were to cease by October 10th. The order wasn't popular with everyone. Even Salt Lake City Health Commissioner Dr. Paul was quoted as saying, "The general closing order is mere hysteria. There's no occasion whatever for closing down any business and certainly no good reason whatever for closing public schools. But the decision to close was sound. By the end of the epidemic, Salt Lake City had just over 10,000 cases of influenza and only 576 deaths. Compared to the 650,000 people around the country who died, the actions to close spared Salt Lake City a much worse fate.
Thanks for joining us for another episode of Capital City News. Join us next time to stay up to date on all the latest COVID-19 related information and resources. You can also follow us at slc.gov for updates, as well as our YouTube channel, which is youtube.com/slctvmedia. And for those of you that are on social media, you can follow us at slcgov on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. That's it for this episode. Thank you for joining us. Stay safe, stay healthy, and we'll see you next time. For SLC TV, I'm Poonam Kumar.